Harris-Himes, and we're here tonight because we'd like to interview a couple of folks who are running for the House of Representatives in this upcoming election, November 7th, 2006. So let me present these two candidates over here. The first one, and I'll introduce the lady first, is Carol Minjares. And to her right is Will Deschamps. Now, Carol, let me start with you first. Would you please give us a little of your background, what district you're running in?
I'm an attorney. I work for a software company in Missoula that employs about 300 people. I'm the in-house counsel, and I also do government proposals. And the district I'm running in is very far-flung. It runs from almost to downtown area around the American Legion, all the way down to Linda Vista, up all the way to Miller Creek Road, out to South Target Range, and also the Fort area, the Franklin School area, and all the way down to Blue Mountain Road.
And what is the district number?
House District 96.
And which party?
I'm a Republican.
All right. And then Will Deschamps. Give us the same information, please.
I'm the Republican candidate for House District 98, and 98 is bounded on the south by South 3rd Street West, on the north by the railroad track, on the west by Phantom Links Golf Course and Kona Bridge Ranch Road, and sandwiches down like a pizza slice to about the ball field.
All right. Now, are you both, how long have you been in Montana, Carol?
I've been here since 1982. I'm a Montanan by choice. I'm originally from California, but when I was 7 years old, I used to watch a lot of cowboy movies, and I decided at that age that Montana had to be the greatest place to live. And I sort of made up my mind then that I wanted to live here someday, and it finally came true in 1982.
And Will?
Well, I'm a fourth generation Montanan and Missoulian, as a matter of fact. My great-grandfather came here in 1872, and I fully love and enjoy being here. It's been home for these many generations, and I hope that it will remain so for the rest of, through my grandchildren.
Let me jump back and continue with you for a second, Will. I understand that you are a Marine, is that correct?
I am. I was in the Marine Corps active duty from 1964 to 1968, and the reserves to 1970. I served in Vietnam, not as a combat Marine, but I was there working in aviation.
And likewise, Carol, you have some contact with the military, do you not?
As my stepson Anthony Minjares, Corporal Anthony Minjares, is in the Marines. He's in Hawaii right now working on helicopters.
All right, now let's get to some of the crux of why we're here this evening. I'm going to ask you if you would care to comment on some areas. And one of the things would be, Carol, what do you think some of the hot issues, for instance, education, is that an area that you feel is an important area for you to concern yourself with?
Yes, well, public school funding became a very big issue when certain parties sued the state, saying that they didn't get enough money for the schools, and the judge took the case, Judge Sherlock up in Helena, which I think it was a mistake. But these lawsuits have been happening all over the country. Some of the states have taken it up as a legal issue, some have left it in the political realm. Needless to say, we're in the legal realm now. The legislature appropriated $150 million in new spending in the last session, and my concern is we're not going to see any real difference in student achievement, and that's because our academic standards have become so soft over the years. They always tell us that our students test out well, but when it came time to to testify in court, in Judge Sherlock's court. They said you can't go by the tests. So they've kind of got us running in circles. I think we need to improve our academic standards so that the people of Montana will get true accountability for all this money we're throwing at the schools now that we have no accountability for right now, and they're going to appropriate more next session probably. So it's going to be really, really important that we improve our standards soon.
Now, another issue seems to be the local options tax. What do you think about that? What kind of problem is it? What is it, Carol?
Well, several of the Democratic candidates have said they're in favor of a local option tax, which would allow cities and counties to pass their own sales taxes, for example. The mayors of Billings and Missoula, the chambers of commerce in some of these places are in favor of this, but it's a sales tax, and I've been surveying people in my district, and they're running about 10-to-1 against any kind of sales tax. We voted on it twice on a statewide basis, and I think that the Democrats, the politicians, are just tone deaf on this. I don't understand what part of no they don't understand about a sales tax, because I'm afraid that even if we do a trade-off with property taxes or income taxes, it won't stay that way, and we'll end up with all taxes running high like they do in California. You know, if we let the horse out of the barn, which is what they want to do.
You can't roll back a tax once you got it, right?
Nope.
All right, let me switch to Will for a second. Will, as far as what are some of the issues that you feel have been important to the people you've been talking about?
Well, obviously education is a big one. Another one is the looming $500 million supposed surplus. The other thing is we have some serious problems with work comp and PERS. The education problem, as Carol remarked or talked about, falls back on the Constitution of the state. And I'll paraphrase it. There's 11 or 15 words that says that the state will guarantee public education to every person in the state, or at least the opportunity of a quality education. When you look at schools like Hysham, Charlo, any of the smaller districts in eastern Montana, they are not able to offer the same educational opportunities that larger districts are. For instance, in Billings, Helena, Butte, Missoula, or Kalispell, or Great Falls. The formula that distributes the money, when the legislature appropriates money, it goes to OPI, and Office of Public Instruction then distributes that money using a formula. Well, that formula, I believe, is flawed in that these smaller schools need a larger percentage than they are getting to be able to equally offer a quality education along the same lines that the larger districts can.
How about the issue of that surplus? What are your opinions about the surplus? Where did it come from? What do you think should be done with it?
Well, I believe that the surplus came about by policies that were begun by the Republicans 3 sessions ago. One of them was a business equipment tax being reduced. One of them was frugal spending and watching that we didn't just spend. Every department in the state of Montana is looking at that $500 million surplus like a big bowl of ice cream. And we need to send some people over there that are frugal and have some fiscal accountability and fiscal responsibility to be able to distribute that money, at least a portion of it, to solve some of the looming problems such as the work comp and the PERS funding. Also, we need to set aside some of that money for a rainy day. And I think that that money needs to go to the higher education some way or somehow, so it's distributed to attract people that are on the cutting edge of science and technology, that will come here, bring grant money with them, and thereby hopefully create spin-off companies that will create good, clean businesses for the state of Montana that provide high-paying jobs that allow our students that are well educated here to remain in the state of Montana.
Now, as far as your opponent, who is your opponent, Will?
My opponent is Holly Razor, who is a Democrat, a teacher from that lives in District 97, running here in District 98. She has been in the legislature for 6 years, and her main pushes or objects are education and biodiesel.
How do your concepts, what do you think separates you from Holly Razor?
Well, I think I have a little bit more diverse background, plus I have more diverse interests. Education is important. Taking away our reliability on fossil fuel is important, but there's a lot of other problems in Helena that need to be taken care of to help the residents of the state of Montana. One thing that you'll learn about me is that when I start to take on a task, I research it to the very ends of the earth so that I can make valuable decisions that are best for the residents of the state of Montana.
And what is your professional background?
I've been a small businessman since 1975. I graduated from the University of Montana here with a business degree, and have been self-employed all my life. I have hired up to 20, or I've employed up to 20 employees. I know what it is to write a paycheck. I know what it is to figure out the taxes that go along with that paycheck. And I know what it takes to run a business that can be profitable and provide benefits and jobs, and well-paying jobs for individuals.
All right, let me switch back to Carol for a second. And Carol, if there's anything that Will's been talking about that you would like to comment on, please feel comfortable in doing so. In the meantime, I will ask you, against whom are you running?
I'm running against Teresa Henry, who is a one-term incumbent, and also Candy Matthews-Jenkins, who is running on the Constitution Party.
Let's talk about the Democrat first. What does she stand for? What separates you from her?
Well, as she said herself, she's a nurse, a nursing professor at UM, and she said herself that she sees everything through a medical lens or healthcare type lens. She's very concerned with medical health issues, which is fine, that's important, but she's kind of got a narrow focus in the legislature. There are a lot of other issues, like Will says, tax issues and infrastructure development and education. She kind of voted along with the Democratic crowd on most of the other issues. Very, very reliable vote for liberal causes, the bullying bill, anti-bullying. She voted to mandate that schools handle the bullying problem. She voted for hate speech law, which is part of the gay lesbian agenda type legislation. She voted for all that and voted for all the spending bills, including a bill that would she voted for a bill to remove the Pledge of Allegiance from their ceremony there. So I guess what you would say is that she's a very liberal voter, and she believes in taxation. She voted to raise taxes.
Who are some of her sponsors, contributors?
The National Abortion Rights League, NARAL.
NARAL.
NOW, or National Organization of Women. Those two come to mind.
All right, let's talk also about Candy. Now, she is running on what party?
The Constitution Party. And yet, she was a Republican on Central Committee up until a week before she filed. And I didn't know that she had a problem. She never seemed to speak out at Republican Central Committee meetings. But then all of a sudden, she was filing as a Constitution Party member. So I don't understand where she's coming from with this.
Well, let me swing back to you for a second. On issues like gun control, eminent domain, veterans' rights, do your opinions and how you would vote differ from your opponent?
Well, I'm not sure where my opponent stands on eminent domain, but I am vehemently against the government taking anybody's property for the result or for the end means of raising the tax base on that piece of property for some other owner. The laws in the state of Montana are very clear that eminent domain can be used for the taking for roads, right-of-ways, electrical, sewer, and things that are for the general good in that sort of realm. But the taking of property where the main crux of it is just to raise the tax base by giving it to another private individual, I'm against. The military, having been in the military, I well understand what military people go through and what their families go through. My opponent voted against two bills, one which would have allowed the Board of Regents to allow veterans waiver on tuition, voted against that bill. There's another bill that would have allowed people to sign up for the selective service at the same time that they filed or signed up for their driver's license, and she voted against that. And I'm sorry, what was the third item?
Gun control.
Oh, the gun control. I'm a member of the NRA, have been for years. I have the endorsement of the NRA, I have the endorsement of the Montana Shooting Sports Association, and my opponent has in the past had a D rating from the Montana Shooting Sports Association, and the NRA gives her a question mark because she will not fill out the NRA questionnaire when it comes to gun rights.
Carol, as an attorney, do you have any particular opinions about some of the things like business equipment tax or any of the tax situations or eminent domain situations that have come up in the past few years that you would have a position on?
Well, regarding eminent domain, I have looked at the statutes, and they are very clear, but where things go wrong is when a city decides to declare a part of town blighted under the subdivision, urban renewal statutes, which are federal, I believe. If they can declare an area blighted, then anything goes. So that's where you got to watch out. And there's been a controversy in Bozeman over an area that has been condemned, so they can redevelop it privately to increase the tax base and all that. So it can still happen here. Regarding the equipment tax, I would speak more as a in-house counsel for a company that has very many computers, a lot of computers it pays taxes on. If you look at when they lowered the equipment tax last time, you look at the chart of the way business took off. Every time they lowered taxes, business revenues went up, tax revenues to the state from businesses that were doing better and better without this onerous tax burden. That's the kind of thing that seems to work, I think, for business development more than all these schemes to lure in out-of-state companies with incentives and breaks and training programs. The Democrats want to give away all these this free training for companies to come into the state to hire people, and they don't know how long they're going to stick around. I think it's better to cultivate the businesses that are already here by keeping taxes low, keeping regulation at a minimum, and just getting out of the way. I think that is the key to business development.
And that would, of course, increase jobs.
And that would increase jobs. I do not think that any government agency or government committee can choose which new entrepreneur really has a good idea, which plan is really going to work, who's got a product or service that people really want. I think the market should determine this.
And this is a toss-up for both of you. What do you think about the current immigration policies that are being considered and how immigration policies might impact Montana? I'll go back to you, Will, first.
Well, when I was a boy, there was a program that the federal government ran called the Bracero program. And that was a program that brought non-Americans, mostly from Mexico, up through the states, and they'd end up here in Montana and they would weed the sugar beets. The program worked great. When the sugar beet thinning process was over, they'd move on to another state that was ready, and then they'd come back and do a final thinning. And when it was over, they went back to Mexico. Illegal entry into the United States, as the term illegal states, is against the law. We need to take, or the federal government needs to take a two-pronged attack at this. Number one, secure the border. Number two, punish those entities that are drawing or are the magnet for these people to come across the border. If I were a poor Mexican or alien of any mix and had to feed my family, I would head for the United States. My argument is not with the fact that they want to be here. My argument is the fact that they come here illegally. There is a legal way for those folks to come to the United States and become citizens. And Montana can be affected. People think we're a long ways from the border. We have a border to the north that's just a couple hundred miles away. I'm not saying people are going to take boats from the south and go all the way up to Vancouver and come in that way, but when we're faced with the type of security concerns that we have now since 9/11, we have to be concerned about who's coming across our northern border also.
Carol, what do you think about the immigration situation?
Well, we're only just beginning to see the problem in this state, I believe, when they busted those workers up in Flathead last summer. That was just the beginning, I think. It's a security issue regarding terrorism, of course. They have so many people coming in, uncontrolled. And there appears to be a certain group of people in power that want this immigration, and I've never been sure exactly why. If it's just a business concern that they want all this cheap labor, or is it something else? But I'm very suspicious. But we need to tighten up immigration. We need strong laws, and I think we should do away. These cities should do away with these safe haven laws that allow illegal immigrants to just land in a big city somewhere and be completely free from any control at all.
There are those who say that any of our immigration policies are basically now unfair to the 11 or 12 million, and personally I think it could be much more, closer to 20 million people who are now illegally in this country. What do you think? How does this balance out? Where is the fairness in comparison to the drain on the American economy and this sort of thing? How would you respond to that fairness argument, Will?
Well, aliens that come to the United States to work, if they are good citizens, come across the border legally, begin their paperwork, they can become good citizens of the United States. They pay their fair share in taxes. They pay their fair share in the health care costs and education costs that they, in a way, incur by being here. Their children need to go to school. They need medical. That's the fairness. The fairness should be that they need to come over here legally. What's putting the stress on a lot of these states is the fact that the illegals are coming in and using these social systems, and there's no, everybody else is bearing the cost. California is really in trouble in their social system, particularly in the medical. I talked to an individual 2 weeks ago that was from Las Vegas that said Clark County is just becoming broke by the illegal aliens that are moving in there, and I asked him what percentage he thought were coming in there, and he said 75%. That seems to be a lot larger than what I would think. But even if it's half of that, that's a tremendous stress to put on the social systems that those states have in place that are paid for by the people that live there. And so that's where the fairness comes in. If somebody wants to come in here come here legally, become a good citizen, assimilate like all the rest of our ancestors did, and we'll get along just fine.
Carol, I understand that those Mexican Americans who have already gone through the legal process and are citizens now actually are very much against this illegal alien amnesty bill that the Senate seems to favor. Do you have any opinions about that or anything else on the immigration issue?
Well, I should say that I'm married to a third-generation Mexican, and I'm not so sure Grandpa was legal when he came in. But it's just gotten out of control, and the problem is with Mexico's government. It has become so corrupt, and they're using the United States as an escape hatch. They could not survive as long as they have in Mexico, that government, and that social system there, if they didn't have us here to take care of their citizens, yes, with our Medi-Cal and Medicaid and welfare. It's not fair to the people who live here now, and it's just too many people, and I'm afraid they're getting too much cooperation from within our government. I don't like it, and it's very disturbing, and I'm not sure what to do about it.
Now, from the standpoint, however, there's an additional issue or issues here. Part of the thing is that, of course, we have the drug problem. That's another problem as far as protecting our borders are concerned, and also terrorists. What do you think about those issues? Will?
Well, we had some people that tried to get across the border in Washington several years ago, and due to the diligence of a border guard, they were stopped. We're living in a different world than we did 15 or 10 years ago. We're living in a world where there's people out there that want to kill us. They want us dead. They want to wipe us off the face of the earth. And the moment that we all understand that, we will start to move ahead with the process. All of the problems that people kick up about this and that, and whether people should come in and giving up personal rights because we want to make sure that the aircraft that come into the state are safe when they leave the bases or the airfields outside the United States. These are things that should trouble all of us, and I think that there should be a way that we all can come together and make sure that we are protecting all of us and not just trying to protect our own personal interests.
Carol, your thoughts?
Well, I agree with Will, and I have other concerns. It may seem more mundane. I think it's kind of sad when you go to California or Texas and you see that there seem to be whole occupations now that the native young people don't do anymore. And I think that's a shame. And now I guess we have to have the immigration to do certain jobs because so many local, the native-born people aren't learning to do construction trades there anymore. I don't want to see that happen in Montana.
All right, now, let's consider wrapping this up. If either of you has a closing statement to rally the voters around your particular causes, now is the time to close it off. So again, ladies first, go ahead, Carol.
I just want to say, people are trying to marginalize you if you are concerned about what happens to us as a society, what happens to the institution of marriage, what happens to the unborn. People want to make you think that you're a bigot, that you're an ignorant fundamentalist or something. Don't let them do that to you. I'm here to vote for the life of the unborn, for the institution of marriage, and for the sanctity of life. And don't let people make you feel like you're doing something wrong if you support those things. And if you want someone to vote for those things, then I'm your person.
Thank you, Carol. Will?
Well, I got into this race because I've long been troubled by the fact that we've continued to send people to Helena that I don't believe fulfill the wishes or fulfill the feelings of the majority of the voters in Missoula County. I echo what Carol says. The sanctity of life, the sanctity of the unborn, at conception, that is a living thing, that is a baby. We need to make sure that those of us that believe that, as Carol says, aren't marginalized also. People will come after you, but you need to stand strong. We as a party, as a conservative, have neglected to marshal the troops. And by that I mean those of you that believe the way that we do need to go to the polls and make a change here in the state of Montana so that we can protect traditional families, keep our taxes low, and when we go to Helena, do what we say we're going to do. 4 things that troubled me, along with traditional family, was the school funding bill wasn't fixed. We were promised it would be fixed. The PERS, the Public Employees Retirement System, was supposed to be fixed. It didn't get fixed. Income tax and property tax reform were supposed to have been handled. They weren't fixed. And the health care problem wasn't fixed. So if you want somebody that will go to Helena and do what he says he will do, I need your support and your vote. Thank you very much.
All right, and I will encourage all of you out in our listening audience to please register and then vote. November the 7th is the time, and I think that I will ask both our candidates that if other issues come up, would you both be willing to come before these cameras again and we'll address some of those issues and concerns?
Absolutely.
Sure I will.
All right, so thank you very much. God bless you all, and good night.